Pharaoh. Yes, you guys have been seeing all the Tony Montana, the Rambo, and Eric Cartman video game stuff I've been doing. I'm just throwing it out there because some of the stuff is funny. But we're going to talk about being accused of stolen valor one more time. And these jack-offs are making a lot of noise. They're telling me about the Nazis, and there's a YouTube channel that is posting stuff about how Europe was cleansed of Nazis after the war. And I said, basically neo-Nazis has been here since the end of the war in many, many countries. Ukraine, Norway, America, South America, even some Armenians has jumped on board about neo-Nazis. And I gave an example of neo-Nazis being out here in California and Los Angeles back in the 80s. And it was mostly not really a skinhead gang group kind of weird thing. It was more like a punk rock kind of neo-Nazi thing. And I'm talking about the Fourth Reich Skins. They were a group of guys that was scattered throughout the OC, which is Orange County, Los Angeles. Some was going as far as Hollywood, and some of the other small little attached communities. And I said, and these guys, they dressed in, they had the cargo pants from the military in the early 80s, dyed black. They wore black jump boots with red laces or white laces. The red means they've been blooded, which means or of pure blood. And then the white laces usually represents pure white. They wore often muscle t-shirts, and all of them were, had their hair cut very short or even bald. And the Fourth Reich skinhead guys were, almost all of them were ex-military one way or another. That could be anything from National Guard, Air Force. And the guy that was the leader was a guy named Steve. That's all I knew about him. And he was a former Special Forces soldier. He was stationed in Fort Bragg or something. That's the only thing I know about it. I've seen these guys several times at a lot of local punk rock shows. A lot of the hardcore bands from England or something come out. I saw them during a Black Flag show. I saw them during the Dead Kennedys, Discharge, GBH Exploited. I saw those guys, and those guys are rough. They get inside the slam pits, and they just complete mayhem and mob. So anyway, to stop, to stop the long-winded thing. Oh, that's fine. Take your time. You can take your time. I'm not in a hurry. Yeah, no, take your time. I'm here at the drive-thru. So I put this down, and this guy says, well, you know what? Those guys don't compare. They would have been purged. And I said, actually, no. They would have not been purged because the SA was basically, they were thugs. They were the same thing as the Fourth Reich Skins, but we're talking about beating people up out in the streets, which they did, and they bust up rallies and all that other stuff and break Jews' windows and all that other stuff. And he's like, well, you know what? They would have been purged by the. I said, listen, dude, the SA was still fighting and serving. Thank you. Have a good one now. Up to 1945, right? The SA was still doing their shit. They were still defending, and a lot of them fought to the death in the Battle of Berlin. And this guy's telling me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm like, dude, really? You're gonna tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about? I said, to the SA, just because Rom and all his homosexual friends were shot and killed by the SS during the night of the long knives, the leadership, you're not going to purge 1.5 million fucking guys. Come on now. You're going to kill that kind of resources, and you don't honestly think that the SA is going to allow you to fucking massacre these fucking dudes. It ain't going to happen. So he killed off some of the leadership who was not very popular to begin with. So this guy's like, oh, the military. And I says, I'm in the military. I was in the military for 20 years, because he went off on that tangent. And then he says, you know what, you're full of shit. You're never been in the military. You don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, dude, we went from talking about a video about Nazis, and then I used the thing of neo-Nazis, that they exist and everything. And we went from that to suddenly I'm Stolen Valor and I'm full of shit. I'm fucking bullshit. And I says, hey, listen, Jackweed, go over to my YouTube channel, and I got plenty of videos with my information, with DD214s, NGB-22s, 201 files, VA cards, ID cards, the whole 9 yards. And then see if you call me Stolen Valor again. So this poor, unfortunately uneducated fool is believing all the right-wing, left-wing, chicken wing websites, I mean, where do these people get their education, right? Neo-Nazis are alive and well. In this country they exist, but they're not as prominent as they was in the early 80s during the punk rock scene out here in Los Angeles. You still have neo-Nazis, Aryan Brotherhood, you have those guys. They're all in prison. They're the prison gangs. And I would not doubt if any of these Fourth Reich skinhead guys end up in prison joining the Aryan Brotherhoods or whatever. So, to each his own. I said, if you want to be a neo-Nazi, that's great. If you want to be Muslim radical, that's great too. Who cares? It's whoever, it's whatever you do, right? But, before you people start talking shit and shooting off your mouths about this and that, please get a proper education. Read actual books, not online internet horseshit. Read the actual dirt. Read the actual stuff. And then get back to me about it, if you got any kind of brief. But again, neo-Nazis, they managed to get rid of the Nazis. And I says, listen, dude, I said, they may have gotten rid of the Nazis after the war ended, but a lot of those guys end up becoming advisors to a lot of anti-Jewish countries. Syria and Egypt are amongst the top of that list, where they had former Nazis or German commanders going over there, or politicians, advising their air forces, their navies, or whatever. Adolf Galland, the famous Adolf Galland, who's revered on both sides of the Axis and Allies, as a great fighter pilot and a great leader. He ended up helping Argentina with their air force. He was an ex-Nazi? You had a lot of former generals go over to Syria and Egypt and help them build up their air forces or armor divisions or units or whatever. I mean, please, people, before you start shooting off your face and calling other people stupid, uneducated, take a real deep look inside your own friggin' face. Look in the mirror. Get an education. Stop believing the hype. Stop believing in the propaganda, and get down to the truth of it. If you're going to do any kind of talking and mouth shooting off on the internet before you start making rude comments. So, this is Jeff DeFaro driving home from my drive-thru. at 7:30 in the morning. I'm driving Red Max right now. Toyota Red Tundra, this big ass friggin' truck. And I got 35,449 miles on it. And yeah, I'm paying almost $800 a month for this turkey. So, wow. Anyway, so we're gonna go back to the zombie video, because I got one more to download, which is part 2, Tony Montana, Rambo, and Eric Cartman. Anyway, this is me again. This is Jeff, and I'm approaching the driveway, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. So this goes to that smart ass on YouTube, and then I'm going to go,